Hey everyone, it's Helen from SME Deal Hunter. Today we have Lee with us, who's actually Lord Leroy Young, Lord of Grange. We'll get into that later. A former fighter pilot who spent 10 years on Wall Street and now is an acquisition entrepreneur who's bought 6 businesses, ranging from gas stations to golf driving ranges to retail stores and manufacturing. Very excited to hear Lee's story today. Lee, it's great to have you on.
Thank you for your time, Helen.
So Lee, I guess before we get in, tell us about, the being, a lord. I thought it was a joke at first when, we got to know each other on Twitter a little bit, but tell us a little bit about that before, going into your background.
Yeah. So real quickly to compress things. So 5 years ago, got a call from a solicitor, which is what they call attorneys in Scotland, and said, we've been settling this estate for 40 years and we had to find you. And I said, wait a minute, you mean 4 years? He said, no, 40 years. So I was like, oh, so things move kind of slow in Scotland, right? Everything's dying or they move slow. So in 2018, inherited the title, Lord of Grange, Lord Leroy Young, a castle in Perthshire, and a gold mine in California. And
And
so,
did you have any idea that was coming? Did you know you were sort of
no,
came
that was
from this?
totally, so I was like, what, 55 or something? I was like, well, why didn't I know about this? And then my family's like, do you understand it took 40 years to settle the estate? And to clarify things, Helen, for your viewers and there's two sides of the family. I'm on the non-reigning side. So when you're reigning, king and queen or whatever, you get a lot of press. But there's a lot of the non-reigning side, which I'm part of, which you're still MRF, which is called member of the royal family, but you're non-reigning. So we're kind of the, hidden royals, if you want to say that. You know what I mean?
I
Because
love that.
we're not reigning royals, but we still are, MRF. So it's good. It's fun.
That's a great sort of fun fact, and also that's crazy. I would love that to happen to me. I'm waiting for my call. So um well, first, I guess Lee, tell us about your background and how you sort of got into buying businesses.
Okay. So, did the college thing, went in flight school, Navy flight school. This is, the Navy, the front door was wide open. And, I was like, they were like, hey, you want to fly jets for them? And I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. So I went to flight school, got selected for jets. My first jet was the A4, which is a pretty old airplane, the A4M, which is Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. So the Mike, so I flew the Mike version of the A4, which is the joke was the only thing original on the airplane was the shadow. And then, as you know, your viewers know, we transitioned to the F-18 Hornet. And I got in that Hornet. I was like, where do you put the quarters in this thing? I mean, it was like a video game. And so did that for 6 years. Very lucky to even survive that. As I was telling you early in the intro, my squadron, 18 guys, 15 of them are dead.
Wow.
And, that's the reality that we do for a living. I mean, being a fighter pilot, there's a romance side, but the reality is, we weren't flying any peacekeeping missions. And so anyway, so I did that. That was a lot of fun, survived that. And then I had to make a choice either, go for airlines, you'd be recruited by all the three-letter federal agencies, the CIA, FBI, DEA, all those guys or whatever. And then Colonel Butch Woodward, vets kind of take care of vets. And Colonel Butch Woodward found out I was a vet and said, hey, I can show you how to make $1 million. I was like, hey, you know, I've been shooting people for 6 years. Let's go make some money. So went to Mother Merrill, Merrill Lynch, spent 10 years there, learned my trade. Great, unlimited checkbook. It was a great way to, just I had, world my oyster. And then started buying businesses. All my clients at Merrill Lynch were business owners, Helen. Okay. So you figure it out pretty quick. So the other end of the phone, I was like, okay, started buying businesses, bought a gas station. And then, as I was telling you earlier, my second business was a golf course, a golf driving range. And the story about that, interesting. And the segue here is I want to tell your viewers that, despite people think, you don't need money to buy a business. And here's the second business I bought. So this golf driving range was for sale. And as I drilled and did the due diligence, the owner, Dr. Powers, had bought this business for his son, to make a career path for him. Well, his son, Brad Powers, great golfer, but just couldn't run the business. So usually when you buy something, if you're a chef, you buy a restaurant, right, Helen? Right?
Yep.
All your viewers are looking at it right now. If you're a plumber, you buy a plumbing business or whatever. That's not always the case, right? So so Dr. Powers, his comment to me, he's like, this was $800,000. I didn't have $800,000. He said, I'll tell you what, if you keep my son as a golf pro, I'll finance you 100%.
Wow.
The rest is history. And then 6 months later, he died, forgave the debt.
Wow.
Chokes
That's
me up.
crazy.
And then once you own a business, Helen, it's very easy to segue into 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And so part of my testimony I want to share with your viewers is owning one business. You know this as a capitalist, but you don't really make any real money until you're second or third or fourth. And so I got this driving range, free and clear, and then 2 more competitors came to me, said, hey, why don't you buy me out? I said, I don't have any money. They're like, well, you got this golf course, this driving range. I'm sure you can fold it in and whatever. So long story short, so ended up acquiring 2 more businesses, 100% financing, because the sellers, they wanted to sell. That's my theme, I guess, in this interview, Helen, is that the sellers are, your viewers always think that they're motivated to buy, right, Helen?
Yep.
People don't understand the sellers can be just as motivated to sell as you are to buy. And so, anyways, the reason I say this is that Dr. Powers, he was a cancer doctor, and he knew he had cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, choking me up still. So, death, divorce, and disease. And then I just started rolling up more businesses. Bought a manufacturing business, bought retail stores, bought restaurants, had a restaurant chain called Navy Seafood. Here's a
Oh,
funny story, Helen. The Navy doesn't protect the Navy doesn't trademark or copyright the name the Navy or anything under DOD, if you didn't know that.
interesting.
So I could literally be Navy Seafood and it's not a patent infringement or trademark or copyright. Isn't that funny? So
That's really
Navy,
funny.
because I was Navy, but Navy Seafood kind of fits, right? Navy Seafood.
Yeah.
So had Navy Seafood, had a chain of those restaurants, Navy Seafood, and it was just all good stuff or whatever. And I want to make a plug for viewers. I'm sure have heard this book. It's an old book, and I want to know if you know it, Helen. The E Myth. Are you familiar with
No,
the
I
E
don't
Myth?
know it.
Okay, there's a book. I forgot the author, Gerber. Your viewers, I'm sure, are Googling it right now. That's a benchmark for small businesses. It just talks about putting systems in place, Helen.
Hmm.
And E-Myth just talks about you're a small business, but act like a big business. Have
I
checks
like
and
that.
balances or whatever. So you systemize things, you industrialize things. And so to your viewers out there, please Google right now and get on Amazon or whatever and buy the books. There's a bunch of versions called E-Myth.
I'm gonna go do it right after this call. Thank you for
Yeah,
that recommendation.
yeah, it's an old series, but they're just a great benchmark, because a lot of people, your viewers, are like, well, I've never owned a business, I don't know how to run it. This book is, right through, all the way through. You know what I mean? So
I love that. Thanks for sharing. I guess I'm curious, you were at Merrill Lynch for 10 years. How did you transition from Merrill Lynch to buying gas station? Were you looking for these deals while you were working? Did you kind of leave? Like, what was
yeah,
your role with the gas station? Were you
yeah,
operating? Like, what did that look like?
yeah, it was just kind of Helen, everybody says that anybody on Wall Street's not normal, or what. I mean, Helen, do you understand the Navy taught me to fly an airplane where people got paid to shoot rockets up at me? So anybody who flies an airplane where people get to shoot at you for fun, no, we're not normal. And I think that Merrill Lynch Wall Street kind of preys on that too. take extreme risk at Merrill Lynch, which people don't wouldn't think they would do, but they do because Merrill Lynch has got an open checkbook. And anyway, so I forgot really how the gas station came about, but going back to all my clients own businesses, so it was just a matter of time before I went from working for Mother Merrill to working for myself. You know, and so great training ground, and stuff or whatever, and nothing but good things to say about Merrill Lynch. And all my background, basically now my expertise is in finance, and now in the Bitcoin age, and the Web3 and so forth or whatever. I'm Even though I'm 60 years old, I'm well suited for this because I got the Vulcan mind melt from Merrill Lynch, and at the time they were number one on Wall Street. So I was very, very lucky, Helen.
No, it's a great story. I guess with the first gas station, you bought it. Were you operating it? Like, what was your role? What
Yeah,
did that
and
look
then
like?
and also too, for your viewers, you never make any money on gas, Helen. That just you make it a few cents. You make your money on repairing cars and doing smog tests and stuff or whatever. So I learned that. You pump a lot of gas, it just pays your mortgage, but you make money repairing cars and doing smog tests or whatever. And then another story then was had a kayak store. I wasn't a kayaker. I had a kayak store, and I was the first to finance kayaks. Another
Interesting.
segue for your viewers, Helen. Helen, when you go in to buy a kayak, most people think they're like $100, right?
Or yeah,
And
how
then
much are they?
$900, Helen.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so people go in, they get sticker shock, right? So let's say you come into my kayak store and you're thinking it's going to be $100, and you see $900. So you're just like, oh, right, you got the sticker shock, right? So before you turn and barrel out of my store, I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, young lady, are you paying cash or are you using store credit? They
Mm.
go, store credit, what's that? I go, hey, GE Finance, GE Finance, they finances jewelry and mattresses and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, a kayak is kind of a small boat. At the time, Helen, they were really, in this huge mode. They wanted to capture this market. They were approving anybody to do. And if you had a pulse and fogged a mirror, Helen, you got approved for store credit up to $3,000 in my store.
Wow.
So now, Helen, now all of a sudden you've got store credit, and you may or may people are smarter these days, but this is 15 years ago. People are like, store credit, I'll go. So $3,000. So what happens, Helen? You ended up buying a kayak for me and your soulmate, or your boyfriend, or your husband, or whatever. You bought two boats. You bought a car carrier. You bought life jackets. You bought paddles. And so my kayak store went from 4,000 a month to 40,000 a month.
Wow.
Anyways, in Carlsbad, and Hobie is they make sailboats and kayaks. Is based in
Yep.
Oceanside, I don't know if your viewers know that. So I was like, right beside Hobie, and the rest is history and stuff. So that was financing things is how you move product, right, Helen? It's how you
Yep.
move big product. So I want to share that with your viewers because that was pretty cool stuff.
No,
So
that's super cool. I guess it seems like, you went into these businesses, you quickly figured out some of these opportunities, whether it was like efficiency, growth. Were you kind of working day to day in these businesses, especially the early ones? Or
yeah,
did you
yeah, yeah.
have someone like, how did you split your time across all of these businesses and over what period of time did you acquire these six businesses? Maybe is
Yeah,
my first question.
this is over a 10-year period.
Okay.
And another plug I want to say for because I'm an M&A guy, I guess you are too, mergers and acquisitions. The famous quote, Helen, is when you buy a business, you know, you the day you buy a business, that could be 10 years of work compressed into one day, right? I
Yep.
mean, organic growth in a business is very slow, right? Onesie, twosie, find customers. You
Yep.
buy a business or you buy a competitor, you've got the whole book of business instantly. You're in business instantly.
That's right.
It's a best kept secret. And so I think, and then buying more and more of them. Now there's aggressive people that will lend you money, with the merchant cash advance guys or whatever. But the seller financing, Helen, I don't know. I thought that was the best kept secret. I don't know how many of viewers use seller financing, but that's also I love seller financing because seller financing first off proves, Helen, that the seller is legit. Because if he or she's going to carry paper on the business, that means the business isn't going to fall apart 5 minutes
That's right.
later, right?
That's right.
It's a verification. So seller financing, I don't think gets taught in the acquisition of businesses. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
certainly not looking for sellers that have death, divorce, or disease. So those are
Interesting.
my staples, the 3Ds, and then just gobbling up, rolling up businesses. That's a term you use on Wall Street, right, Helen? Rolling
Yep.
up businesses.
And I guess going back, did you operate in these businesses over those 10
Yeah.
years? Like
And
were you
so
running them you were running them simultaneously, I'm
yeah,
guessing. How did that work?
yeah, it takes a while to find somebody. There's a famous quote among business owners: "You're one manager away from a turnkey business," Helen. But it
Yep.
takes a while to find that person, him or her. So you go through a lot of people. You need to learn the business front door to back door, floor to ceiling, I say, right?
Love
But
that.
so to answer your question, yeah, I ran everything floor to ceiling. But I was approaching the businesses from a financial standpoint, Helen. Not I wasn't a plumber buying a plumbing business, right? I wasn't a chef buying a restaurant. All
Yep.
your viewers out there, they always think of that discipline. That's not true. That's not true. So that's part of my testimony today is you don't have to be a plumber to buy a plumbing business, Helen.
Yep. That's
You
right.
know, and so I don't know if that's common knowledge, excuse me, or not, but I love that. Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, I ran everything day to day until I could find somebody to put in place, and then once I got a manager, Navy Seafood, the first one took a while to get going or whatever. Once I found a manager, then I, bought the second one, bought the third one, bought the fourth one. So once I get a manager, then I can, leapfrog to the second acquisition, the third acquisition, and so on and so forth. So, and that takes a while. There's a lot of trial and error to find a manager that is accountable and does their job or whatever, Helen.
No, that's interesting. And how long would you say it took before you went from like day to day doing everything yourself to finding a manager for each business? Was that like 6 months?
Oh,
Was that a year? Was that multiple years? Like, what did that look like?
I would say a minimum a year on every business. It's a real trial and error,
Yeah.
Helen. It's a real trial and error. So not easy, and you got to go through a lot of people to find that girl or guy that is built, and usually you have to give them an equity share in the business or whatever. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
you're one person away from having a turnkey business, and then once you have a turnkey business, that's passive income, right, Helen?
Yep.
Now that gives you the go ahead to go buy another one or
Yeah.
start another one. I'm huge, and you're a Wall Street gal yourself, so I'm huge on mergers and acquisitions instead of starting something.
Yep.
Starting in organic growth is just a very slow slogging it out, but you can roll up businesses very quickly, as you probably know.
Yeah. No, how did you, and you mentioned a couple of deals where you did like 100% seller financing. Is that how you finance all the transactions or, what
No,
other
I mean,
tools did you
no,
use?
no, some seller, and you can get real creative. The merchant cash advances. Are you familiar with those work or your viewers?
No, tell
Really,
tell us about it.
yeah, they may have gone by the wayside, but when you take credit cards, Helen, those credit cards come in every day for a restaurant or a kayak store or whatever you have, right? And those businesses, that's they can do a bell curve. They can average your monthly sales in a business.
Yep.
So if you buy an existing business, say you buy an existing restaurant, this restaurant's for sale, all these retail businesses, right? Well, they all take credit cards, right, Helen?
Yep.
So those credit cards are cash flow.
Yep.
And so these merchant cash advances will give you 1 or 2 or 3 months of cash flow. They'll advance you, and they automatically they suck it out of your account. So you don't need any credit. It's based on the cash flow of the business, right, Helen?
Yep. So you would
You don't
take these
want
merchant cash advances from the businesses you owned and you go use that to buy another business. Is that how you did
yes.
things?
Yep.
Very
Yep.
smart.
And then even the cheat code is, Helen, okay, so these guys that finance cash flow, Helen, it doesn't matter if the tooth fairy is running the business. They don't care. Okay? So whether you own it or not, they'll bank it. So on the manufacturing business, on the mattress store, I didn't even own it, Helen. I didn't even own it, and got the quote for the merchant cash advance, and then at closing got advanced 3 months cash at closing. I used that to buy the business.
That's crazy. So you negotiated it, you gave them sort of like, this is what the business is cash flowing. They gave you the offer. You're like, great. You closed at
Yeah.
the same
So
time you
yeah,
got the cash advance.
so hell, when you're going to buy a business, what do part of your due diligence is give me all your financials, right? Your bank
Yep.
statement, your financials, or whatever. You take those bank statements, you go to the merchant cash advance guys. They go, yeah, this looks good. This business is, cash flowing $100,000 a month. We'll give you $300,000.
Yeah.
Now
Interesting.
I think those merchant cash advance guys on the other side, the money comes quick, Helen, but it's expensive money.
Yeah. It's true.
Okay, it's expensive, but with no credit and all this kind of stuff, because your viewers are like, I don't have any money, I don't have any credit. I want to dispel all those rumors. You know what I mean? You can literally, people watching this, Helen, they don't need credit or money to buy a business,
Yeah. That's
which is a huge. And I don't know if you've heard this before or whatever, but I'm kind of pounding the table on this or whatever. But I just love that stuff. So is this
no,
is
I
this
love that.
of all the people you interview, have you heard this before, Helen?
Nobody's has done merchant cash advances that I know of in the way you have. So I love what you're sharing.
Really?
And
That's commonplace for all retail businesses. Take credit cards,
yep.
and these
No, that's
guys
true.
and 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 they're pirates, Helen. They're pirates with suits on. They have suits, but they're pirates. Okay, but it gets you in the business. It
Yeah.
gets you there. You know what I mean? And in this day and age, owning a business is the key to freedom, Helen. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work, Helen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not easy street, but it's you control your own destiny. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. I guess I'm curious, the first couple deals, I mean, the first deal you kind of found maybe through your clients, just being in the space. What about, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth deal? Like, where were you finding these opportunities? Were you just kind of networking? Were you like looking online? Like, where are you looking
Yeah.
for these deals?
These I think they still have meetup groups.
Oh,
All these meetup groups, once again, the merchant cash advances is kind of dated. The meetup, I think meetup still has a lot of groups or whatever and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And then also now, social media is very powerful. You can post, hey, I want to buy a business on Reddit. You've heard of Reddit, right? The
yeah.
social, everybody's a bit different, right? So you have to pick and choose or whatever, but you post that you want to buy a business or whatever, your phone will ring, Helen. It'll ring.
And in those meetup groups, are they like business owner meetup groups, like or just random meetup groups, or
No, no, no. You join meetup groups that are, businesses for sale.
oh,
You
interesting.
post stuff on Twitter, Facebook. I'm a business buyer. I want to acquire businesses. The great phone starts ringing. You know what I mean? And then you narrow it down to, hey, I want restaurants, or I want, used car dealers, or I want a pawn shop, or I want a furniture store, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But so you have to filter a lot of people. But the phone, you tell people you want to buy business on social media, your phone will ring, Helen. And now
That's
there's people
nuts.
watching this right now that are like, okay, they're cutting off the interview and they're posting on social media right now. It's great. It's great
I
stuff.
love that. I love that. I guess you've bought so many businesses in so many different industries. Are there certain ones now you're gravitating towards, or that you would recommend a first time buyer sort of go
Yeah,
towards?
I think what's happened in the past, Helen. Now the landscape has changed a lot. We have too many restaurants, too many coffee shops,
Yeah,
in my opinion. You know what I mean? So I think you have to. I also subscribe to what I call a blue water strategy, Helen. A blue water strategy means that you're the only lifesaver in the ocean. So a blue water strategy is a business that is not that everybody sees. I mean, there is value owning a dry cleaners in different towns or whatever. There's something to that, but I was always want to try to do something that nobody else was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So okay, so let's just sharpen the pencil right now. So today, I don't know when you're going to air this, but right now our economy is pretty bad right now, right? So your viewers watching this right now, if you're going to air this pretty soon, they're going to
Yep.
be like, "Wow, the economy is really bad right now." Well, what businesses do well in a bad economy, Ellen? I'll throw it out there. Laundry mats, people got to do laundry, whether they're living in their car or living in a hotel or traveling, they always have to do laundry. Um, uh, uh, Coin shops. That's very early. That's a very sharp end of the pencil. There is not enough gold coin shops in the world.
Interesting.
And gets even better. Um, all these coin dealers will finance you. So when
Hmm.
you go to suppliers, now going a bit deeper into these businesses, now some of your viewers are like, well, I can buy a restaurant, but I can't afford to buy the food, right? Or I can buy a furniture store, but I can't afford to buy the furniture. All these suppliers finance things. They all finance. So
That's
I'm
right.
sure your viewers know that. I'm sure you know that. But most suppliers, if they want to move something, they finance it.
No, that makes sense. Tell us about some of the other businesses you've bought. You mentioned the gas station, the
Okay, I had a great business. It was now finance. So now I go with sort of the finance. I had a business called Currency Cafe about 10 years ago, Helen. And Currency Cafe was a coffee shop in the front, funny coffee shop, and a trading floor in the back. So
huh,
I gave the coffee away in the front, gave it away. So everybody drinks coffee, right?
yep.
Everybody. So we're giving the coffee away, Helen. So what happens is you walk by and you see that this guy is actually giving coffee away. What kind of a whack job's doing that? You come in to buy a coffee, and in the back, hopefully you see in the back, and all my gals and guys were told to direct you to the back. So you would see all the people in the back, like on monitors, trading, and you're like, "Hey, what are those guys doing?" Oh, it's funny you ask. We're kind of in the trading business here, and that's how I. The segue was give the coffee away to get people trading forex.
Interesting. And
So
did you buy did that business exist and you bought it or?
I started that and then sold to I'm still under you know NDA whatever, but sold to this big horse racing conglomerate in Virginia.
Oh, wow. And did you sell several of your other businesses or any of the ones that you bought, or are you mostly holding them
Yeah,
for
the,
cash
the joke
flow?
was the joke was Ellen. I told anybody who approached me, they'd say, "Is your business for sale?" I go, "Everything except my wife, my dog, and my kids are for sale. Let's go." Right? Because seriously, you never know when somebody's going to approach you.
That's right.
So everything I have is for sale, and I told everybody who would listen to me, "Is your business for sale?" I go, "Yes, it is." You know what I mean? But you never know. You never know when somebody's going to approach you again. You know what I mean?
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, you have to sort of be prepared to sell and then here's another book, another a modern day book, another plug for your viewers, a title called Built to Sell.
Interesting.
So the first book is E Myth. Your viewers have already Googled that, found that. Second book, Built to Sell. Built to Sell is when you buy the business, you're already grooming it. You're grooming it, the books and everything for a commercial sale. So don't play games. In my opinion, a little segue here. So Ella, don't play games and run dog food and your nail salon through your business. Make the business like pure business, because that way when a VC comes along, a venture capitalist, they see nice clean books, they'll buy you right away.
No,
So the
that's
second
great
book,
advice.
Built to Sell, is have systems in place and be professional with your business. Of the people listening right now, be professional. Have everything in place. Don't play games and take run all crazy stuff for your business. Don't buy dog food for your business, Helen. Come on. It's, you know what I mean? And people out there are like, wait a minute, my dog's got to eat. I know, but come on, man, be professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I guess, you bought, quite a few businesses. Any tips on the diligence that any sort of tips there?
Yeah, that goes back to seller financing. Almost every time, if the question was if the seller will do now, it may be a bit of a paper tiger I call. So I'll ask the seller, will he or she do seller financing? First off, it proves if that person is motivated or not, Helen. Okay,
Yep.
and also if they're going to do seller financing, it proves their books are clean.
Hmm.
So that's actually the due diligence really quickly. So if they were willing to sell financing, they weren't cooking the books, and the business wasn't going to sell apart. So that one question there, that's my due diligence. In a nutshell, is that crazy? I know I'm a Wall Street guy, and yes, I can tear any business apart in 20 minutes. But if the seller was going to do seller financing in some way, shape, or form, it was like this is good. This is good. So getting into it, Helen, I mean, most of your people listening to this, they don't have the training that you and I do on Wall Street. You know what I mean? As far as doing due diligence and looking at it and stuff or whatever. So it's kind of a gut thing, I mean, um, you sort of have to get a feel for it per se. You know what I mean? And going through all your due diligence, you have to walk the business too, Helen, because there's a lot of nuances and talking to customers. Hey, is this a good place or a bad place? And then talking to employees. Actually, employees are great due diligence. You tell them, hey, I'm going to come in to buy this business. What are we doing right here? What are we doing wrong? Ask the employees of the business. That's gold. I call them golden gripes, Helen. A golden gripe is an employee that'll tell you honestly what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong. It's beautiful stuff.
Do you
So
find that the sellers are cool with you just talking to their employees and telling them, hey, you're buying the business, or what's your sort of thought
yeah,
there?
it's all you don't talk to customers because customers you don't want to ruffle the feathers. If sellers are not gonna, if they're not gonna open the books, if they're not gonna do seller financing, if they won't let me talk to their employees, I'm not buying that business. What are you hiding? I'm
Yep.
not buying that business. You know what I mean? So if they're cooking the books, if everybody at the company is nepotism, you know, if everybody in the company is all related, that's kind of a flag, Helen. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Right?
You do see those.
Yeah, you see those. So I gave you a long answer for a short question there, but hopefully that was a bit of a. So talking to all the due diligence is a lot of shoe leather. Talking to customers discreetly, not telling them what you're doing, and then employees or whatever talking to the seller. Once you do this enough, you get a pretty good feel for it and stuff. I mean, I'd love to get into looking at balance sheets, income statements, but I think that's going to overwhelm some of your viewers, and they go, "Well, I can't do that." And so what I want to do in this segment that you allowed me to talk about is like, Helen, anybody can do this. Anybody watching can do this.
No, absolutely. That's right. I definitely believe that. And thanks for, sharing that. I guess now, you bought six businesses. Are you still owning, several of them? Do you still run several of them? How are you spending your
No,
time and kind of what's
no,
next?
yeah, modern day. Now I have this gold mine. I want to put it back into production. Before I inherited it, it was in production when gold was like $300 an ounce. Now gold is $2,100, $2,300 an ounce. So now I want to get back into production, but there's some big numbers there, Helen. Uh, plasma drills. They don't use mercury to separate gold and silver. Mercury gets in the aquifer, gets in the water table. Then people start having kids with two heads and stuff. Mercury's really bad stuff. Now we use plasma drills. They're very expensive, but getting permitted. So I'll cut to it. To get my mind back into production, I need $25 million, Helen.
Wow, that's
Yeah, say that
crazy.
real quickly. Say that number real quickly. It doesn't sound like much.
That's funny. So you guys, what's the role you have in some of the businesses you have acquired? Did you sell all of those already? Where are you
Yeah,
at with
and
those?
now I'm also I'm a huge Bitcoiner. I love NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. I think the NFTs are understated. And so I'm in this whole Web3 space right now, which is kind of away from brick and mortar now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now it's back to financials. And I just think our country, our dollar is in decline. You know, we're a modern day Roman Empire, Helen, in this country. And so we're in decline. So you need to have a global business now. You know what I mean? And some of your viewers right now, Helen, they're from all over the world.
Yep.
You've got people in, 100 countries watching this right now. So it's not just America. So we literally are in a global economy. So a lot of things have changed. So I'm a Bitcoiner. I'm a Web3 guy. I love NFTs, all that kind of space or whatever. But that's kind of sophisticated stuff, and a lot of people don't know what non-fungible tokens are, and Web3, and all the stuff or whatever, and Bitcoin. People think that Bitcoin is bad or good or whatever. You know what I mean, and so forth. So now I'm going back to the finances, and and now want to put my mind back in production. Dig up the little shiny yellow rocks in 1,500 feet down in Mother Earth. So that's consuming most of my time right now,
Are
and
you still
most of my
running
time.
the kayak shop?
No, sold that. I sold that. So all my businesses I've told you about have sold.
Very
And so
nice.
now I just have the gold mine. I've got and other business. I own many nonprofits. I also inherited a global lottery. Being a
Wow.
sovereign, yeah, being a sovereign individual. I can be licensed basically in like 142 countries because I'm MRF. That's a great thing. So and the hair was totally broken, really broken. So I'm fixing that. So I have a lottery that's broken, a gold mine that's not in production. So I've got a lot of work right now, Helen.
Well, those are definitely royal problems that no, most people like us don't have, but you're definitely the first royal that I've interviewed, so pretty cool for me.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think we're up at about time now. Lee, any sort of last pieces of advice for folks out there who maybe working a 9 to 5 and thinking about going down this business buying path?
Yep. Yeah. The trailer is, you don't need credit to buy a business. You don't need money to buy a business. Okay. So the credit is answered by merchant cash advances. No credit, you don't need that. Those for merchant cash advances work for people who take credit cards. A business take credit card. What business doesn't take credit cards, Helen? Come on. Every business does. Okay.
Correct.
There's your down payment for a business. So in my opinion, so you don't need credit. The down payment come from merchant cash advance. Um, and then you need to find a motivated seller. And the first question, tell your viewers to post ads on all the social media that your business buyer, the phone will ring. Your first question is, why are you selling the business? And if that person doesn't say, they're not going to say the 3 Ds. That's kind of macabre, right, Helen? But it has to be one of those three reasons. Something like, I want to retire, or I want to go on a world cruise is not the good reason. So there has to be, I guess my question, my segue, Helen, you have to find a motivated seller. So find somebody that has a disease or is got the cancer, and which is terrible, I know, or somebody died. And people don't think like that, Helen. They always think that it's going to be so tough for me to find a business. Your viewers right now, that's wrong. I want to dispel that myth. So seller financing, and then a motivated seller, and that's going to open up a lot of doors for a lot of viewers today. And I hope it does.
No, thank you so much. And Lee, if folks have additional questions, want to reach out, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can just Google me. I'm on all the social media, Lord Leroy Young, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those, all that stuff, right? Or whatever. So yeah, just Google my name and I come up. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. Really enjoyed hearing your story. Thanks for all the advice. I know everyone's going to enjoy this too. And please stay in touch and keep us posted on how all these how the gold mine goes, the lottery, all these inheritances. That'd be very exciting.
Okay, thanks for your time, and good luck to all the viewers listening right now.